Okay, welcome to another Masechta, Sotah. It's welcome back, Rashi. We haven't seen Rashi in quite a long period of time. Baruch Hashem, we welcome Rashi back after hiatus from the Nazir and the Darim. We welcome back Rashi. Now, a little bit, introduction to Sotah is a very, very unique ritual. It really is. It's an amazing, amazing ritual, because it goes against many of the sodos of expectation. We know that if a woman is mizana, if she has an illicit relationship with another man, if she's married, if there's edim and asra, she gets chenek. If there's edim and asra, she gets chenek. If there's not edim and asra, she gets karis. So in other words, she's not getting it off. She's not getting off scot-free. So that is what's known as the Vadai Sotah. We have Aiden that she in fact indulged in an illicit relationship. She would. That's called the Vadai Sotah. That's not what Masechta is about. Masechta is about a woman who you don't know. Now, if we don't know something, fellas, we're Maimed al Cheskasa. We spoke about this. The whole idea of the Sotah is where we learn that Safik Tuma B'Shus Hayachit Sveikai Tameh, because this woman Be'emes has this Cheskas Taira. As long as she did not go ahead and do anything, she has a Cheskas Taira. Yet because of the circumstantial evidence, the Reglaim L'Davi here, after the husband gave her a kino, he warned her not to be behind closed doors with a certain individual, this stira, and she was behind closed doors with that certain individual for the period of time where one could possibly have relations. In that case, we're going to go to the kohen and put her through the whole ritual of Sotah to ascertain whether or not it's true or not. Now, it's interesting to note that both studim are one. The whole inyan of the Sotah, we do an unbelievable thing. We erase the Shem HaMefarish. We take the Pasha of Sotah, we're going to erase it, and we're told that Hagadol Shalom, how great is Shalom? How great is Shalom, right? It's an unbelievable thing. What happens if she's guilty? What happens if she's guilty? So then you erase the name. Where's the Shalom over there? Right. So what the answer is anyone who was there and saw what would happen to her would give tremendous emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right. The Kajik Vava Goin says that anyone who would go ahead and witness this would Shalom is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's two Shaloms over here. One, the Shalom bein ish v'isha if she is guiltless. And two, the shalom between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the same shalom because a manifestation of a nes nigla. She's dying right in the spot. Her eyes are bulging out. Her stomach's blowing up. So either way comes out something good. It's a very fascinating way to look at it. So this Masechta, the body and large is a Masechta. It's much easier than most Masechtas that we've done recently, for sure, from Nazir. It's very interesting. Just a Geshmak Masechta, and it is the last Masechta in our sojourn of every 7.5 years. So it's very special Masechta, and we look forward to celebrating Masechta. As a matter of fact, I have, at the back of my Masechta, I have the first Siyam Hashas that we celebrated, and if you look at the date, right, you can see it was Pashas Peshalach, and the year was 2001. So it's a good 22 years ago that we did this. It's 3 cycles ago. So this is the 4th cycle. And it's very, very rewarding. So let's begin. Hamakana l'ishto, lashon of b'di'evet. Notice someone goes ahead and warns his wife. Now it doesn't say mekana l'ishto. You should. It says hamakana, the one who does, which is a lashon of b'di'evet. Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion mekana loy al pi shnayim, that she is warned not to be behind closed doors with this particular individual. You need 2 people to witness that. Umashka means to give her to drink, which really translates, and if it's stira, meaning she was behind closed doors for X amount of time, al pi echad, 1 aid would do the job. So 2 aidim would have to be present at the time of the warning. 1 aid would have to be present at the time of the actual being clandestinely behind closed doors. Even the man himself, according to Rabbi Eliezer, could be the one that says, 1 second, I saw you behind closed doors for X amount of time after I had warned you in front of 2 people not to be. Rabbi Yeshua argues on Rabbi Eliezer, and he says you need 2 for both. Mekanala al pishnayim. So they are in agreement vis-a-vis the kinoi. By kinoi, they both agreed to umashkal pishnayim, and the disagreement is on the stira. Like Rabbi Eliezer, the stira would be what? One person would do the job, or even himself. And Rabbi Yeshua is of the opinion you need two people, 2 and 2. Case of mekanala. What exactly is kinoi? So Amallah b'fnei shnayim. You tell in front of 2 people. Again, everyone agrees on 2. If you tell in front of 2 people, al tedabre yamish ploni, do not speak to so and so. Do not speak to so and so. The dibra imo, and she does speak to him. Adayin hi muteris lebesa. She muter lebesa umuteris lechal b'truma. And if she's a bas kohen, she would be muter di truma. However, nichnasa imo lebesa seiser. If she goes behind closed doors with this individual, the shas imo kedei tuma, and she remains there for long enough that it's time to go ahead and have a bia, which is hara. Again, we saw in Masechta Yevamis, we saw there's a machloikis. What exactly is constitutes a bia? If it's hara, the initiation of the man's aver entering the part, but we call it shikas aver, or gemar bia. This would be hara. We pass in hara. Even the shikas aver would be hara. Asur lebesa should be asa to her husband. Asur lechol b'truma should be asa di truma if she's a bas kayim. Then mace, and if the husband dies before she gets a chance to drink, and she has no children, now the chiddush of the Isha Sotah is also, let's say the following. The husband warns her, she's behind closed doors, and now that's it. She says, you know what? Okay, listen, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. Let's go on with life. No, no way, Jose. She's usher to her husband. She's usher to her husband until she drinks. Until she drinks and clarifies clearly whether she did or she didn't, she cannot live with her husband. She's usher to her husband. That's good to know. Again, she's usher to her husband. Okay, before we begin the actual discussion about the machlokes between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer, we have a bit of a digression, and then we'll get around to it. It says the Gemara Michti. Let us see. The Tana last Masechta we have was the Sechta Nazir. My Tana the Tana Sotah. That's the reason we learn Sotah after Masechta Nazir. After the Gemara the Rebbe, the Tanya Rebbe Yomer. Laman is Parshas Nazir, the Parshas Sotah. In the Torah we have the Parshas Sotah and then the Parshas of Nazir. So the Pasha of Sotah comes first, and then the Pasha of Nazir. Anyone seeing the Sotah go through a kilkula, again, the degradation, how we degrade this woman, we undo her hair, we hold up her dress with the rope. It's a very, very degrading process. Anyone who sees a woman going through this process, now what should they do? They should go ahead and they should go ahead and become a Nazir, because what led this woman to go ahead and be in the situation was possibly drink. That she drank something, and as a result of her drinking, she indulged in illicit behavior. Right. So that the question is, if Sotah comes before Nazir in the Torah, why don't we list Sotah before Nazir in the order of Masechtas? Says the Gemara, listening Sotah, other listening Nazir. So then, if it's the Torah that predicates the juxtaposition of the two, we'll go according to the juxtaposition, which is first Sotah, then Nazir. And so Gemara, I did Tani Ksubis, since we learn Ksubis, Tanan Amadir, which has the parak of Amadir, the 5th parak, Tanan Nedarim, we learn Nedarim. That's the 5th parak or the 7th parak, I don't remember. Right. But I did Tani Nedarim, right? And that we learn Nedarim. So since we learn after Amadir, so Tani Nazir. Guys, we Ish Kiafli Linda Ned and Nazil Hazab Hashem. Naziris is one of Nedarim. So Ksubis, Amadir. Why do we learn Nedarim after Ksubis? Because the Madir that was together. Once we said Nedarim, that would jump Nazir, which is after Sotah, over Sotah. Why? Even though anyone who sees the Sotah going through her ritual should become a Nazir, and therefore it should be in the order of the Torah, Sotah should be first. The fact that Naziris is one Al Yedei Neder would juxtapose it next to Nedarim, which is after Ksubis. So it's Ksubis Hamadir, Nedarim, as a result. Ish Kiafli Linda Neder Nazal Hal Hashem. We have the Nazir is also a Neder, and therefore it becomes before Sotah. By the Tani Nedarim, Tani Nazir, the Damil Nedarim, then Nazir, the Damil Nedarim, Tani Sotah Kid the Rebbe. And then we learn Sotah right after Nazir, because the Rebbe is then that called Haroyas Nazir Sotah Kula Yasser Atzim L'Yayim. Okay. Hamikana the evident lechatchila loy. Hamikana, if a man does give kinoi, it doesn't say mikana, a person should give kinoi. Hamikana, b'di'evet, if he does do it, in lechatchila loy. Kesavad Tana Didana Tanas of the opinion. Asa liknais. It's asa to go ahead and it's asa liknais because you might set yourself up. Bisman azeh, guys, if a person would warn his wife, and his wife then would be behind closed doors with that man, they would never be able to live together. Again, as I told you, once those two components are fulfilled, the act of warning and then the act of being behind closed doors with the one she was warned with, she's usher to live with her husband. Bisman hazeh, what are you going to do? There's no Sotah bisman hazeh because again, the ritual takes place in the Beis Hamikdash with the Kahanim, with the Kiyar, with the Shem Hashem, and with Karbanis, she brings a carbon, a Minchas Kanois, which is going to see in the Masechta, so you can't do it. So therefore, it's usher to go ahead and do Kina bisman hazeh. It's usher. It's not the right thing to do. Look at if you look at Rashi. Rashi says usher liknois shemevi atzma l'dei tagar. By going getting dumkino, you're going to bring yourself to fight. Best ishtay l'dei nivel, and you'll bring to your wife to nivel. Va'afili to her, and even if she's tahar, so nothing good could come out of it. And therefore, what? Don't do it. Hamikana, one who did do it, not makne, a person should do it. Hamikana, one who does do it, not one should do it. Amr Shmuel Yitzchak says the Gemara Kiavi Pasuk Reish Lakish b'Sotah. Reish Lakish will begin Masech the Sotah. Amahachi, it say the following. Because Baruch Hu goes ahead and he's mezavig a person's wife to him only according to his actions. If you look at Rashi, mezavgin isha lefi maisav, tznuel et tzadik uprutzel l'rasha. If you want to know where you're held in the eyes of Shemayim, just take a look at your wife. It says tznuel et tzadik uprutzel l'rasha. So your wife said tznuel, a good chance you're in a good place. If your wife is not, then lo and behold, let's see. Anyway, says the Gemara, Shenemar, Hiloi Yanuach Shevet HaRasha Al Garelet Tzadikim. Hashem does not place the Shevet of a Rasha on the Garelet Tzadikim. I've written on the side of my Gemara something probably my son Yehonasan told it to me, but I don't know for sure. But I know I didn't see it inside. Because I never learned the Sefer. There was a tremendous guy named Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chava. I think it was a Talmud of Tzaddik. He lived in the contemporary. It was a big makubal, and he says the following: "Why does Mikila Yinuach Shevet a Rosh al Garet Tzadikim?" So the Shevet will of a Rasha will not be on the Garet Tzadikim. What does the Lashon Shevet stand for? The Gemara in Yevamis Daf Samech Beis says any person that doesn't have a wife, Shari b'lei Simcha, b'lei Bracha, b'lei Taiva. Simcha, guys, begins with a sin. Bracha, obviously a base. Tova with a Tess, shave it. So a wife you have what? Simcha, bracha of Shalom. So therefore, kilo yinuach shevet l'rasha al garelet tzadikim. You won't give the shevet, the wife who stands for what? Simcha, bracha, and taiva to the rasha on the garelet tzadik. Amar Rav Chanan Rav Yochanan, the kashin l'zavik kikriyas yamsuf, to make zivugim, to make shidduchim, is difficult for a Kadosh Baruch Hu as Kriyas Yamsuf. Shneimar, Elakim Moshev Yechidim Baisa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes Yechidim and puts them in one house. Moitzi Asirim Bikusharos, and he takes out the prisoners to Kusharos in a time of Kasha. Okay, to understand this beautiful Rashi, first wide line. Moshev Yechidim Baisa. Adam Yachid the Isha Yechida. A man is Yachid and his wife is Yechida. Whom is Zavgim Yachad. And he puts them together, and he creates a bias. That action is Kashal of Kriyas Yamsuf. Maitzi Asirim b'Kaisharois, Haitzi As Yisrael Mitzrayim b'Chaydus Kasha. He took out right in Nisan, Mamish David Beitay guys, right? He took out what takes us out in the right time, not right. Why is Nisan the right time? Because like Chama v'Leit Sin, it's not too cold, hot, and it's not too cold. So Makish Zivu Yechidim L'Siyas Mitzrayim. So Moitzi Asirim because Sharais is referring to Asirim, the Jews who were in bondage, because Sharais, the Kadosh Baruch Hu takes out in Nisan, right? Yitzias Mitzrayim, and Moshev Yechidim Baisa to put them together. So it's Kashalov Kriyas Yamsuf. Further, when is really so. Amar Rav Yochanan, Amar Rav, Aboyim Yom Kodim Yitzias Avlad, 40 days before a child is formed. Bas Kol Yotzum Averes, Bas Ploni LePloni. So and so, which woman will be to so and so? Bias Ploni LePloni, which has to be to so and so. Sada Ploni LePloni, Sada should go to so and so. So, frankly, the Kasha, how can you say it's Kasha of Kriyas Yamsuf right? And it goes according to a person's actions. We see that in fact that 40 days before a person is born, it's decreed who's he going to marry, way before he has Maisim. So like Kasha, says the Gemara, Haba Civic Rishon, Haba Civic Sheni. Civic Rishon goes according to 40 days before. Civic Sheni would be what? According to his actions. So a big machlokes exactly what is Civic Rishon and Civic Sheni. So let's go into this a little bit. I'll share with you what I spoke out almost 47 years ago by my own Shaver Brachas. I said my own Shaver Brachas, I said Torah using this Gemara. Okay, so the kasha is the following. It's say that for Kodesh Baruch Hu put people together is kasha of Kriyas Yamsuf. We have a stira. Apparently, even before that, a bas kol goes out 40 days before a person's formed. So it's not hard at all. It says the Gemara, no. The one that comes out 40 days before is his first wife, the first shidduch. And one is his second shidduch. Now, what does it mean first? Does it mean you have to get married twice? What happens if you don't get married twice? What exactly does Civic Rishon and Civic Sheni mean? So I found a pshat. I saw it in the Meiri, and I think it rings very true with me. A person is not considered a bar oinish in Shemayim until he's 20 years old. In this world, 13 years old for a boy, 12 years old for a girl. But in Shemayim, a person is not mechuyim until 20. You're not in the best of Shalmaila. So let's say a person would get married before he's 20 years old. So he has no maisim. So that has to go according to what? That would go according to his basher. That would go according to 40 days before. What happens if a person gets married after 20 years old, when his maisim can be considered maisim? That would be Zivik Sheni. Sheni meaning after the time where it possibly be considered going according to his actions. Okay, so that would be the explanation. Kan Zivik Rishon, Kav Zivik Sheni. Zivik Rishon is basher before 20, after 20, Lefi maisim. Frank Tais is a kasha. Let's see Tais. Haba Zivik Rishon, Haba Zivik Sheni. Sex Tara Tema. Tais says Tema is a very strong lashon. Right? The Perik El Megalchin, the Perik Moed Cotton, the Amar Shmuel, Mutal Aris B'Chayla Shalmoid. One of the things a person is able to do in Chayla Shalmoid is to get engaged. You're able to get engaged Chayla Moed. Why? Shem Yukad Ben Acher. Maybe someone else will beat you to the punch. One of the things you can do Chayla Moed is get engaged. Because if you don't, maybe someone will beat you to the punch. Right? And Kaparech Lei, the Gemara asks over there, Mehacha. Aboyim Yom Kodim Mitzias Avlad, right? So in other words, why? No one's going to beat you to the punch. 40 days before you were even conceived. 40 days before you were conceived, it was decreed who you're going to get married. So why are you worried about what? Someone beating you to the punch. So the Gemara answers, Shem Yukadmel Acha with Tefillah. Maybe he'll daven. It says the Gemara, Ma'ilei Muki Hasam Milsa de Shmuel Bezuk Sheni. Why don't we go ahead and say Pashit? Over there, it's not speaking about what? It's not speaking about Civic Rishon, it's speaking about Civic Sheni. And therefore, why do you have to comment to the teretz of someone with tefillah can override your basheret, which in itself is a tremendous chiddush? You see, Shem Yukad Mena Acher, that a person with tefillah can go ahead and beat you to the punch. Why don't you give it a beautiful teretz? That Gemara is speaking about Civic Sheni. Since it's speaking about Civic Sheni, it's not speaking about 40 days before, and therefore Shem Yukad Mena. So therefore, that's why the Gemara that's the Taisus Kasha. Why didn't you give this teretz? So I said by my Shaver Bachas, I said what I thought was very geshmak, and I still think is very geshmak. If you would have given the teretz that what Civic Sheni, you'd be limiting the Gemara. The only person who would be able to get engaged, right, would be someone who is what? Past 20 years old. The Torah wanted to give you a teretz that applies to both. Someone before 20 and someone after 20. So you see, someone before 20 and after 20, Shem Yukad Mena Acher. Maybe someone else could beat you to the punch. Even your basher, you could lose Shem Yukad Mena Acher. So the teretz of the Gemara there is going on a universal, any person, whether the person's an 18-year-old, the person's a 20 years old. If you would have said that what? Civic Sheni, you'll be limiting what? To a person who is after 20 years old. So therefore, the Gemara, opted over there to give the teretz Shem Yukad Mena Acher to speak to anyone's able to get engaged, whether they're 18, 19, or 20. If you would have given the teretz over there that it's a Civic Sheni, you would be limiting it to who can go ahead and get married. Only a person that's 20 years old. That's what I said many, many moons ago. Okay? We like it, good. I remember somebody asked me in the hotel, asked me some dumb question, Lenny. I forgot what it was, but I gave him some obnoxious answer. I don't know what it was. I think he was a poor tipper. I think he was on our station when we were together, so I didn't like him. Anyway, but who remembers these things? I know you're thinking back who it was.
And you were over 20 at the time, right?
That's what I said. I was over 20. That's where I finished it. I said I was over 20. So anytime I feel down about myself, I think about this Rashi. I got it snua. I must be okay. Anyway, Baruch Hashem. Okay, that's the last easy part of today's daf. Says the Gemara Vaita.
I want to know what you served, by the way.
It was in the lake house. Whatever it was very plain. It was very, very plain. The lake house was the only place that had a Hungarian cook, and they made them cook like a yeka. So everything was very, very plain. Even though she was Hungarian, probably was a very good cook, but everything was plain.
Less palatable than what you see on your screen down there.
That is for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, he's always with food, I'm telling you. Anyway, that's the Gemara Vaita. Okay, let's go back to our Mishnah, guys. What was the Mishnah, right? The Mishnah was that they argue by what? Let's go to three inyanim. One, the warning. Two, the yichud, the stira. And three, the tumah. We'll call the act of snus tumah. Three. For number one, everyone agrees you need two. For number machloikis, Yeshua says one. What about number three? What about she does go ahead and have B? In stira, there is no discussion. Al pishnayim eidim yakim davar, right? Ein davar shebe erva pachas mishnayim. In other words, if you're going to give this woman chenek, you need two eidim to warn her and say, listen, so and so. If you're going to go ahead and have relations with this guy, you're going to get chenek. That's talking about kinin stiri. That's a regular act of tumah. What about an act of tumah that takes place after a kina v'stira? What would the din be over there? Would you need two eidim or not? Everyone would agree. Even Rabbi Yeshua would agree. One. So this goes against the whole tenet of the Torah. Al pishnayim eidim yakum davar. Al pishnayim ein davar shebe erva pachas mishnayim. There's not davar ever less than two. Even though that's true, that's only if there's no kina and stira. If there was kina and stira, we have what's called reglayim ledavar. We have a very, very strong circumstantial evidence that there was an act of bia. So therefore, that act of bia would be what? Only one. Now, where the Gemara wants to know where you get this from. Let's cheat a little bit. Okay? Here we go. Now, this is very important. The parsha doesn't make a lot of sense unless you see it. His wife goes astray. She has nus. So this pasuk is not speaking about a Sotah, a Safik. It's speaking about a Sotah vadai. It's speaking about a woman who cheated on her husband. What happened? The pasuk continues. V'shachav ish isa shich mazera, mashma an act of bia. V'nela mi'ena isha, and it was hidden from her husband. V'nistera v'hi nitma. Now it's very funny. You told me already she did an act of bia. Then you say v'nistera. She went behind closed doors. Nitma, and she was tamei v'hi nitma. The aid ain't ba, and there is no aid. V'hi lein ispasa, and she wasn't forced. V'ava lav ruach kina, and the husband got jealous. And he warned his wife, and she what? She did an act of znus, or aval of ruach kina, or he had a ruach of jealousy. And he warned her, and she didn't. Then we go through the protocol. So this pasuk, it's very funny. In Mashma, you already had an act of znus. Then it says, so the truth of the matter is, we have to take this idea, is speaking before Yud Gimel. This is the way you read it. He warned her. He had an act of jealousy, he warned her. And she did all these actions, right? She did all these actions. Or then we have where she wasn't tamei. So now, if you read this pasuk that he gave a kina v'stira, and then she did it, the aid ain't ba, but there wasn't two aid in that she did it, but there was what? One aid that she did it. Then you be believed. Guys, this is the whole Gemara. Watch this pasuk. So I'm interjecting over here that there was a kina v'stira, and then there's aidis that she in fact had an act of znus. Now, what is the aidus? It's not two aidim, it's one aid. The aid ain't ba, meaning there's no aid at all. But if there was one aid, then there wouldn't she'd be a vaday Sotah, and she would not drink. Now, I don't know if aid ain't ba could kill her, that you give her chenek, but it would stop her from drinking the mechatas, not mechatas, meimorim. So, guys, again, one more time. He gave a kinoi, he gave a stira, and now here's the lashon, and v'hinit ma. Hinit ma means what? She did. The aid ain't ba. There's not two aids that she did, but there's one aid that she did. The healing is pasha. In fact, she wasn't forced to do it. So these are the key words, guys. The aid ain't ba. There's not two aidim, but the inference is, but there's one aid. So Mamela, we see from this parsha that one aid is believed after kina v'stira to stop the Sotah process. He's believed to say that what? That she's believed, even though usually you need what? Usually you need usually you need two. Over here, you're going to go ahead what and say one does the job. We'll say one does the job. Excuse me for a second. And guys, any questions? Or that was clear? It's an inference, right? It's an inference. The aid ain't but there's not two aidim. There's not two aidim, but there's one aid. What's the one aid to? V'hinit ma. There's one aid that she didn't act as nus. Then you don't go through she doesn't drink. She doesn't drink. Stop. It stops. So that's the raya that both Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, despite arguing by the stira, they agree by an act of the third thing, the tumah, one would do the job. Okay, one would do the job. Tell them I'm saying share. Of course they that. My saying share is predicated upon Yitzi disturbing it. So Memela, it's automatic that if I say share, he's going to call. Okay, now says the Gemara inside. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Maknal al Pishnayim, and Rabbi Yeshua says what al Pishnayim, but they disagree by what stira. Ad kanle pligi ela bikina b'stira, meaning they only argue by stira. Avol betuma by the third component, the act of znus itself. Eid echad mehimin, and eid echad is believed. And even though guys b'chol Tarakula ein davar she'evra pachas mishtayim, where you have one aid by after kina b'stira, you're going to be believed. B'tanan nami, and this is a Mishnah later on, Daf Lamed Aleph. B'tanan nami, I saw that she makes that she in fact did it. Right now, let's say she won't drink. Now, midaraisa menolan the mehimna eid echad. Where do you know midaraisa that an eid echad is going to be believed, right, in this matter? Now you know the answer already because you cheated. The Tanur Rabbanad, the eid ein ba. What does the eid ein ba means, guys? Taicha literally. There is no one there. Good. That's the literal translation. There is no one there. We're going to say it means the eid ein ba, two are not there. But who is there? One. Right? That's the way we're going to darshan it, guys. The eid ein ba, there's not two people there, right? There's only one. The eid ein ba b'shnayim hakosem medaber. It's speaking about two. Maybe there's no one there. Talmud Leimar. It says la yakum eid echad beish. When it wants to say the one aid, guys, it doesn't say aid lashon yachid. It says aid echad. Aid echad. It says aid echad. So therefore, even though the lashon of aid is mashma only one, no, aid means aidim. It means two, because any time it's echad, it includes the word echad afterwards. It says la yakum eid echad beish on the base. Mimashma shenemar lo yokum eid beish. When it says it would not rise up an eid beish, eini edeshu echad. When it says lashon eid, don't know I know echad. Why do you have to say eid echad? Eid is a lashon yachid. So why do you have to say the word echad? Ma tamalem echad. Why are you saying echad? It's a binyan av. This is a source. Kol makam shenemar eid. If it just says eid alone, harikan shnayim. It means what? Two. Until the Torah says echad. Okay, guys, here's the given. Here's the given. The given is, if it wants to say eid echad, it's going to say the word echad. If it says the word eid, despite it being lashon yachid, it means eidim. Good? It means eidim. So now the Gemara is going to fear ois what we just did. It says ve'eid ein ba. What does it mean ve'eid ein ba? There's not two eidim, but there's one eid. And we're going to figure out why. Trey less ba. The eid ein ba. There's not two. El echad. There's only one. And then it says v'hiloi nispasa, and she wasn't forced. And therefore what? Asura, she's asa. She's asa. So guys, so now we have a source. Since it says ve'eid ein ba, there's not two eidim, but there's one. V'hiloi nispasa, she'll be asa to live with her husband. She'll be asa to live with the boil. If she's a Eishes Kohen, she can't eat truma anymore, but she won't drink the Meimarim. Guys, are we good? Yes. The rest of the Gemara now is a little difficult. The rest of the Gemara now is, why would I need the pasuk of Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish to tell me that there's one here? I could figure it out. In other words, we need to tell me Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish over here to tell me that I couldn't figure it out without that pasuk. I need that pasuk. So the rest of the Gemara until the two dots a little difficult. Just bear with me, and we're going ahead. We're proving that you needed the pasuk of Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish because you'd have no other alternative. Ela taima, the reason that we know aid means one and not two. Dichsiv Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish. Halav haki. Let's say it didn't say that. Havamina aid the Sotah chadhu. If you're going to say that aid the Sotah is one, guys, look at the pasuk. Guys, look at the pasuk. Let's say you didn't say lo yakum eid echad beish. That's the way you read the pasuk. V'shachav isha yisa shechvazera v'nela mi'eina yisha v'nistra v'inima v'eid ein ba. Now, if aid means one, what does that mean? V'eid ein ba, and there was no aidim. So if there's no aidim, why she hasa? How could you teach aidim? How could you teach the word aid as possibly meaning two, and I need aid lo yakum eid echad beish to tell me it means one? I can ascertain it means one. Why? It must mean two, because if it didn't mean two, here's the way you teach it: the aid and one aid ein ba. There's not one aid over there. If there's not one aid over there, the hilai nispasa, how could she be chayiv? There's no aidim. El, it must be aid means two. And therefore, why do I need the pasuk of Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish to tell me there's two? Even without that, I know there's two. Says the Gemara inside. El time the ksiv Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish. Halav hachi have amina aid the Sotah chadhu. V'afilu chad leka el b'may mitzvah. Why should we asa? So el guys, you don't need the pasuk Lo Yakum Eid Echad Beish. Al kach, I know aid means two, and therefore I'll say they don't have two; they only have one. No, it's the you still need the pasuk. Because aid ein ba, what does that mean? It doesn't mean there's no aid over there. I'd say if aid ein ba, one aid is not believed. Ein neman ba, right? Aid ein ba means ein neman ba. So therefore, it doesn't mean there's not an aid. I'd say one aid is not believed. Ein neman ba velamai baye. If he's not going to be believed, lish the kraminei. The Asya Dava Dava Mimamin, Anoyadana, Midi to have Yakola, Edia Shebatayra. Guys, one aid's not believed. If you're telling me you're not believed, then why say anything at all? Leave out the words Ve'ed Ein Ba. If you're not believed, right? I know, like any other place in the Torah, if there's two, you're chayiv. If there's not two, you're pata. You know, it's pashit. So it's you still have to tell me Yakum Eid Echad Beish. Salkadat Chamin and Sotah shiny. I would say Sotah is different than any place in the Torah. The reglayim ledava. You have a lot of circumstantial evidence leading up to the fact that she must have done something. Sharikinala, the husband warned her, the nistera, and nonetheless she went behind closed doors. So I might think this Hamin Ba Eid Echad. I might think that Eid Echad is believed. Kamash Malon, that what? Layakam Eid Echad Be'ish. So therefore, I have to tell me Layakam Eid Echad Be'ish, and therefore there's not two aid, there's one aid, and that aid is believed. How can you possibly say that the aid is not believed? For Sharia and should be muta, but the chsiv behilain is pasa. It says that what she wasn't forced, right? Mechlal das surah. When it says over here, the aid ain't boy is not believed. Behilain is pasa. Why do you tell me she wasn't forced? If he's not going to be believed anyway, obviously hilain is pasa has come to tell me a chumrah. It's coming to tell me that she wasn't forced, so she must be chayiv. Guys, what does it mean she wasn't forced? Meaning she did it willingly. If she did it willingly, you're going to tell me he's not believed? So it's the you still have to tell me I would say you're not believed until there's two. So ubetray nami hid pasa, and even when there's two pasa, they're only believed if she wasn't forced. Right? If she was forced, if she wasn't forced, but if she was forced, they're not. So therefore, I need I need the pasuk layakam eid echad beish to tell me the aid ain't ba, there's no one aid, and that aid is believed, despite the fact that what? That is reglayim v'tava, and you would think that you need two aidim, kamashman, that only one is good. Okay, now going, again, that ends the very difficult Gemara. Now we're going to go back. What's the source for each one? We have a source for Rabbi Yehuda, and as Rabbi Yeshua, and a source for Rabbi what? For Rabbi Eliezer. Now it says over here, now ba means over here by Tumah there's one. Mashba by Stira and by Kina there's two. The Eidein Ba, that third act what we discussed, the third act, the Eidein Ba, that third act of what? Of Bia, there's no aid to the Bia. Mashma for the other acts of Kina Vestira, there are two. And Rabbi Eliezer is going to say no, only by the act of Kina is there two, but not by the act of Stira, but not by the act of being behind closed doors. That's the way the Gemara is going to darshan. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yeshua, Amen Maknala Pishnayim. My time of Yeshua that you need two by Kina and two by Stira. Amakra ba, it says ba by the Tumah. Ba v'loy b'kinoi. By the Tumah one's enough, but by Kina you need two. Ba by the Tumah one's enough. V'loy b'Stira, Stira you need two. Rabbi Eliezer, Amen ba v'loy b'kinoi. But only by the Tumah is one believed. V'loy b'kinoi, not by the two. By Kinoi. But by Stira, one is believed. The aim of ba v'loy b'Stira. Let's say ba v'loy b'Stira. Says the Gemara, Stira ishkus l'Tumah. We make a Stira, but we make a hekesh between Stira and Tumah. Just like Tumah one is believed, so too by Stira one is believed. Then it says V'nistra, and she was behind closed doors, v'hinit ma. Then she was Tameh, so we have a hekesh. Just like by Tumah one's believed, so too by Stira one's believed. Says the Gemara, Kinu nami ishus the Tumah. Kinu also is mukash the Tumah. Dechsiv the Kinu is ishtra v'hinit mitma. So like Rabbi Eliezer, if you're going to make the hekesh by Stira to say only one, make the hekesh by Kinu and say only one. Yet Rabbi Eliezer says Kinu is two. It says hamiyat rachmana ba. It says hamiyat ba. So we're going to say ba only by Tumah and by Stira, but not by Kina. Umar Royas, why do you apply the ba to Tumah of Tumah to Stira? Why do you apply the ba to Kinoi? In other words, you have an option, guys. Guys, look at me. You have an option. It says ba by Tumah one, right? And now I have Kinoi and Stira. Rabbi Eliezer said, I'm going to apply it to Stira, not to Kinoi. Why did he opt for this? Why did he opt to go ahead and apply it to this one and not to this one? Or the third one and not to this one? Says the Gemara, it makes sense. Umar Royas, to apply it to Stira, Mistaba Stira La'adifa. We should be machman by Stira. Why? Shekain Eisrasa Kituma. Guys, if the woman we know for sure, had snus, could she live with her husband? No. If we know a woman was behind closed doors after Kina, could she live with her husband? No. So Stira and Tumah are synonymous. They both accomplish the same thing. They both accomplish that what? That you can't live with your husband anymore. One forever, and the other one until you drink the Meimarim. So therefore, it makes sense to say if I'm going to say one is believed, it's comparable, the Tumah and the Stira, to say just like Tumah is one, so to Stira is one, rather than Kinui, which is the beginning of the process. Says the Gemara Adarabba, Kinui Adif, to apply the one should be believed by Kinui, which Rabbi Eliezer doesn't say, Shekain Ika, Gorim La. Without Kinui, Stira doesn't make any difference. Guys, if a woman goes up behind closed doors with yichud with a man, she's not also on a husband. Only if the husband forewarned that particular man, correct? So without kinoi, there is no stira. Says therefore, let's say the act of the miyad of tuma of one should apply to kinoi. Says Gemara, ilav stira kinamiyaka. If not stira, the second act, the kinoi doesn't mean anything. Says the Gemara, if you like kinoi, stira mayahani. Without kinoi, stira doesn't mean anything. Afilachi stira adifa. Stira is stronger. That's chalta the tumah. Rabbi Eliezer says that stira is the beginning of the act of znus directly. Kinui doesn't act as znus. It's yichud behind closed doors with the man. That's the beginning of the act of znus. Therefore, given my druthers, I have ba to believe by tumah to apply it to stira and apply it to kinui. I'm going to apply it to stira. So again, in a summary, we know there's three acts. There's an act of kinoi, an act of stira, an act of znus itself. We know that kinoi, everyone agrees 2. We know stira is the machlokes. We know 3, everyone agrees 1. So therefore, this 1 is limited to stira, limited to tuma. Rabbi, and that's why Rabbi Yeshua says ba. The aid ain't ba to the act of aid. 2 is not there, but 1 is there. When is 1 believed? By this third act. But by the other ones, kinoi v'stira, you need 2. Rabbi Eliezer says, no, I'm going to make a hekesh between stira and tumah. Just like tumah is 1, stira is also 1. That's the Gemara.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
By kino, it makes so much sense that you need 2 anyways, because she's in the cheskas of kashrus at that point. You did nothing. But in stira, it makes sense you need 1. And if you say 1, it makes sense 1 because you already have your garden with up, like you've been saying.
Again, that the Gemara says that the act of without kina, nothing begins whatsoever. There's 0 whatsoever. So even though she has a cheskes kashrus till then, right? Even though it's cheskes, if you're going to go ahead and begin something, right? It would make sense. You need, I'm going to apply it to be machmir. No, 2 is a kula. It's be more machmir even 1. That's a chumrah, right? 2 is a kula. I need 2 before anything starts. 1 is a chumrah. You good? Okay, great. Masnisin Lekiyatana. The Mishnah, the guys that learns in Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer is 2-1, right? Guys, get this clear because it gets confusing. Rabbi Eliezer is 2-1. 2 on the kinoi, 1 on the stira, correct? We're going to have another opinion, 1 on the kinoi and 2 on the stira. Says the Gemara, Mishnah, this is a Tana who learns from Shan Rabbi Eliezer. Mishnah Lekiyatana, Tanya, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. He says in the name Rabbi Eliezer. In other words, we have an other opinion as to what Rabbi Eliezer held. We have in our Mishnah 2-1. This is going to be is 1-2. I'm a kind of the Ishtoi Makna. Here's where he disagrees right off the bat. Al pi eirechad al pi atzmai. Kina can be accomplished with 1. Kina and stira can be accomplished with 1. Umashkale al pi shnayim. So instead of 2-1, it's 1-2. Heshiva chacham l'dir Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. According to you, that it's 1-2. There's no end in sight. We'll see what that means soon. My time to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. What's the reason that 1-2? Omakra. It says ba by tuma is only 1. V'lei b'stira. By stira you need 2. Good. But mashrein kinoi would be 1. Ve'ema ba v'lei b'kinoi. Why don't you say ba is 1 is believed, but not 2 by kinoi? So kinoi ishkus the tuma. Kinoi is mukish the tuma. Just like tuma is 1, kinoi is also 1. Dechsiv b'kinoi esishta v'hinit ma. For the Gemara, stira nami ishkus the tuma. Stira, which is also is mukish the tuma. And if tuma is 1, stira should also be 1, not 2. Well, look at a woman just popped out of the table there. Dechsiv v'nistra v'hinit ma. So let's say you need what? 1 by the stira, not 2. It says who l'kamashir stira. That pasuk that we make a hekesh between nistra v'hinit ma is to tell me what is the amount of time to be considered stira. Kedei tuma. It's the share that it says to be behind closed doors that you can do an act of tuma. Hu da'asa. Okay, so now, guys, so what do we have now? Let's go Shitas Rabbi Eliezer on Mishnah. 2 on the kinoi, 1 on the stira. Shitas Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, 2 on the stira, 1 on the kinoi. Good. And what did the Chacham say? If you need 1 on the kinoi, then ein ledav sof. There's no end in sight. 1 on the kinoi, there's no end in sight. Now, what did that mean? Says the Gemara right away. Hey, Shiva Chacham de Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, ein ledav sof. My niu, the zimnin b'leikani. Sometimes, let's say, she's behind closed doors with a guy, and he never warned her. But Omar kanoi, he says, I did. I warned her. And again, Loi Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, he's believed. Not only one person believed, he could be that one person. So in other words, really, ein ledav sof of a man creating an act of Sotah by lying and saying, oh, he gets angry at her. She has yichud with a man, and will say, 1 second, I gave kinui on that man. Because like Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, he's believed on the kinui. So he can go ahead and make what? Make a Sotah. Says the Gemara, if that's true, Hold the Mishnah Seinu, our Mishnah as well, where Rabbi Eliezer says he's believed on the stira, yesh ledav asayf. Zimlin deloy is the tira. He wants her, and then she did not have behind closed doors. V'amar, and he'll say, it's tata, you went behind closed doors. In other words, once you're going to believe the husband, you have tsaris. Whether it's believed on the kina like Rabbi Yehuda or believed on the steer like Rabbi Eliezer himself, right? Each one could lie, getting angry at their wives and saying, 1 second, I warned you. 1 second, I saw you behind closed doors. So either way, what's the taina that the Chacham is saying on Rabbi Yehuda? They could have the same taina on Rabbi Eliezer himself. Am Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, Am Rabbi Yechon, Af l'div Rabbi Yehuda, ein l'dav asayf. Meaning, Sai Rabbi Eliezer, Taki have that taina, and even Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda you have that taina. Now this doesn't make too much sense, guys. The man would have to have kinu with 2 people, and then he would have to say, "Oh, 1 second, you were behind closed doors and she wasn't." Versus Rabbi Eliezer Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, you never had kinui, and you only had stira. Then he could retroactively make the lie. You see, he would have to lie first after having 2 Eidim. It's a much bigger, easier way to lie in the scenario of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda than in our Mishnah. Because in our Mishnah, he would have had to have 2 Eidim on the kinui and then lie. Versus here, where she had stira, and he could go to bed and say, 1 second, I warned her. So the lashon over here is funny. The lashon over here is that the lashon over here was saying is, even according to the words of Rabbi Yehuda, ein l'dav asayf. Not fed the Gemara. L'div Rabbi Yosef Yehuda v'lami boy l'mishra seinu adarabba l'mishra seinu ika right? Pasam leka ika. In our Mishnah, you have what? The substance. You have 2 Eidim on the kinoi. Over there, you don't have any substance. What do you mean? Again, ein l'dav asayf means that you can make your wife into what? A Sotah. In our Mishnah, it's not pashut, guys. Because what are you going to do? You're going to get angry with your wife and say you're behind closed doors with 1 guy? Where was the kinoi? You would have had to have 2 Eidim on the kinoi to start it off. Versus if she's behind closed doors with a guy, he can go ahead and say, 1 second, I warned you about this, and he can lie. So it makes no sense to say that from the words of Rabbi Yehuda, even on Mishnah, it's the opposite, right? Says the Gemara, okay. Says the Gemara, if you want to learn how to learn at Rabbi Yehuda, here's the way you have to learn it up. Itmar. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yochanan, L'div Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, according to the words of Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, who says what? That he would lie on the kinoi, after Mishnah Seinu ein l'dav asayf. In other words, once we're chayish for lying, right? After Mishnah Seinu, and certainly what? If he's going to say on a Mishnah ein l'dav asayf, where you needed 2 people on the kinoi and 1 person on the stira, certainly on Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, where you only need 1 person on the stira, and he could be that on the kinoi, and he's that 1 person, he would be believed. Okay, we'll stop over here. Everyone should have a good Shabbos. Thank you for listening.